All right, welcome back to Daybreak. Already there's some debate on that story around Mount Kenya about Kiambu being separate from Mount Kenya, being caught in between Nairobi and the more rural Mount Kenya. And my panelists this morning are asking, okay, so now it is a what? Okay, but before we get into that, let's quickly take a look at the front page of the Standard, and it has to do with maneno ya SHA. And but first, I am remiss. Let me reintroduce for those who've just joined us, who we have in studio. And I will start with Nyabul Okinyo, who is an economist. Good to have you in studio.
Thanks, Aileen.
Karibu sana. We have Advice Mundalo, who is a leadership and communication specialist. Good to have you in studio as well. And then we have a gentleman who is an IT expert, but he also tells me he's a diasporan. So Dennis Kaske, karibu sana.
Asante.
All right, and then we have in studio Akili Boniface Nyamu. And then the ladies, I saved the best for last, didn't I? Janet Watoro, who is a program associate TISA, and Ruth Bolo, who is the board chair of Young Women Leaders Connect. So let's take a look at the front page of the Standard. And it reads, "You're dispensable," and it reads, "An attempt by Health CS Aidan Duale to castigate this paper on his social media handle had Kenyans coming down heavy on him, telling him to his face to resign. The CS has carved out an image of a bullish, arrogant, and bossy individual, readily using his vitriolic tongue to lash out at anyone who sees beyond his PR gimmicks. Media has been his favorite punch bag as he fails to see that his record at Afya House is getting muddier as Kenyans took him head on. Details emerged yesterday revealing more disturbing failures at the Social Health Authority, and they have their the headline that they had carried previously, which is The Untouchables, and then Aidan Duale's tweet under that, and it reads, "The Standard Gata Press has now embarked on a retrogressive ethnic profiling. My advice is for chair and shareholders to pay their staff salaries that is due for the last 12 months. That is the Standard Group chair and staff chair and shareholders. The Kenya healthcare delivery is undergoing a major transformation under UHC that is accessible, affordable, equity and quality healthcare for the people, period." So we have a couple of, do we still call them tweets or X's? Posts, right? You get what I'm what I'm referring to. That follow that. This is Paul Davies, and he asks, "Have you paid interns? The county governments say your statement that UHC staff were absorbed was diversionary from the fact that SHA money has been stolen under your watch. What is going on, Bwana Nani? Don't run to ethnicity every time you are asked questions that you cannot answer." Then we have Lawi Almighty Amolo, who is quoted as saying, "No, they're simply saying that you're a shameless thief appointed by a thief and therefore feels invincible. But the good news is that your day is right around the corner." Then we have a Bright Shitemi quoted as saying, "Bwana CS, a time is coming when men in expensive suits and dresses who think Kenya is theirs for the taking will languish in jail. If not worse, it is not far off." And then under that it reads, "As 24 billion shillings feared lost in SHA misses since replacing the defunct NHIF, SHA has paid out approximately 53 billion shillings to hospitals. However, in a shocking turn, the agency has been forced to revert to manual verification of more than 500,000 hospital claims across the country after the digital system collapsed, which could lead to the loss of 24 billion shillings. Two figures have been highlighted there, but the one on top is 104 billion shillings. Digital superhighway system cost taxpayers 104 billion shillings crumpled, exposing the claims process to manipulation and threats." I'll start with you, Janet. Your thoughts on this story? I mean, the whole rollout of SHA, you'd expect, of course, for there to be some hiccups at the beginning, but it has been stoked by controversy right from the start with this 104 billion shillings that was for the software. And then now they've reverted back to manual verification of claims and allegations of monies corruptly paid out to facilities, and that is what we're told SHA was intended to fix and why NHIF was replaced. Your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at the idea of SHA, it was here to fix the issues they claimed NHIF was going through. But what we see and what citizens are going through is tougher than what was initially. So you wonder why we'd have a system that is spending all this money which is taxpayer money, right? And we are told we're paying all this money to get healthcare services. The whole point of UHC is to ensure healthcare is accessible to everyone. But that's not the case. We are getting stories of people not able to access healthcare because, oh, SHA doesn't work over the weekend. How does it not work over the weekend? It's not online, and you have a whole system that you said should be working. So yeah, you cannot be saying you're the head of healthcare and you're not doing your job. So I think he needs to clean up his track record where he's at and fix the corruption that's ongoing. Citizens are not having a good time with healthcare, and that's a challenge.
All right. Advice, Kenyans are paying more compared to what they paid under NHIF. The salaried workers, let me put it that way, because we are told the rest, let's just say Kenyans are paying more. They're also being cut salaries for affordable housing, those who are salaried. And they're trying to bring in the informal sector. But the assurance from the president was at the time that you're paying more, but I assure you these monies will go where they are intended. That doesn't appear to be the case.
Thank you, Olive, and good morning.
Morning.
Yeah. Now, first of all, on the same subject, and just to start off with what you read on the Standard, and to me, it appears more like Standard was reporting about itself. Because when I look at the headline and what you read, there was nothing about healthcare. It was all about Standard and paying workers and all that. So it's basically Standard reporting about itself. I think it just points out to what has always been talked about of what are these headlines and what is the gist of the headline. Is the headline having the gist of exactly what is being talked about? Because after your reading of that and your brief of it is more about healthcare than the headline that you read on the Standard, which I think is something that Standard must be able to look into, so that we don't have headlines that are unnecessarily sensational. But then now, going into, first of all, I do not agree with you that Kenyans are necessarily paying more. Because we have some Kenyans that are paying more, and we have some Kenyans that are paying less. Because now Kenyans are paying a percentage. So that does not actually amount to more for everyone. Whereas some are paying more, like members of parliament, who are now paying way over 30,000. People like, I'm sure people like yourselves who are paying more. We also have those who are paying now less than 500 shillings. So I want to, first of all, start it from a very objective angle. Because most of the time we have the tendency to just narrow down on what makes more sensational sense than what actually makes sense. Now, when I look at the track record of Duale at the Ministry of Health, first of all, when Duale came in, we must be able to agree that there was better sensitization of issues around SHA. And then there was a calm for some time. We had him here in your studios for a while. At some point, then we had also the payment of the doctors. There was a big stalemate on the subject of doctors, which had been unresolved for some time. He actually was able to do that. We had better sensitization. But then, now he is getting into quite an issue. Because now when I look at the issue that started, I think this week or beginning, towards the end of last week, about the claims of SHA. And now I saw photos of some hospital somewhere in some ditch looking very funny and claiming that that hospital was actually being paid SHA. And that was the whole reason why NHIF was actually seen to be a problem, because it was paying claims to people who did not qualify. It was paying claims to hospitals that were, some of them were even not there. Now, that is what we intended to fix with SHA. Now, when such things start coming up again, now it becomes a very big problem. And that is not something that, that should be excused politically. It should be something that should really be addressed to the immediate effect, because you cannot be able to tell us that this was the problem in NHIF. Then we find the same problem in SHA. So I think that is a matter that that Duale really needs to address and address very keenly. It's not a matter that needs to be done politically. And that's where I have a problem with, because most of the time, most of our address to issues is more political than fundamental. And that is the hallmark of it. That's what I'm saying. There was what he was able to do right. Actually, at some point, Duale was very hailed, even by the people at some point.
All right,
but then he is getting into a place where now he's getting back to how NHIF was, which would be a very big disservice.
All right, Boniface, your thoughts?
I want to start by saying that the idea of SHA was noble. It was a good idea. The only problem that came in is that when SHA came and some people in government realized that you will be deducting money for over 20 million Kenyans, they realized it's a lot of money. So SHA was hijacked by what I would call conclave of interested parties. I give you an example. You see, that system that costed Kenyans 104 billion is pure theft. It's robbery without violence. Why am I saying this? Safaricom had said we can do a system that will cost us less than 1 billion. I do not understand what criteria or what rationale was used to say that we will settle for a system that will cost Kenyan taxpayers 104 billion instead of less than 1 billion. Another thing I want to say about SHA, my friend is defending Duale. You know, you cannot defend someone who is undefendable. Duale is on record, not once, not twice, not thrice. Every time he is asked these hard questions by the media on behalf of the people of Kenya, he turns personal. It has happened countless times. I remember, I think it is last week but one, when he was asked a question by one of the journalists.
Is it Leon Lidigu?
I think that's the journalist. He was as bold, as courageous. He had the audacity to tell that journalist, you can transform your media house into a medical facility. You know, that kind of arrogance. So when these questions are asked, the media is not asking on behalf of itself. It is asking on behalf of the people of Kenya. Mind you, the freedom of the media to freely inform the people of Kenya is enshrined in the Constitution that the President was telling us to celebrate on the 27th of August this year, of which they're not even respecting the Constitution. So what is my point? You see, we thought by moving from NHIF to SHA, things would be better. But what we have seen within the last 3 or so months is flabbergasting. You find a hospital that got millions and millions of shillings from SHA, but when you see the pictures, you are left wondering, is this a country or a crime scene? So Duale cannot escape from accountability by insults and throwing tantrums. They must be responsible, and that is all Kenyans are asking for. Right. Otherwise, if we continue like this, we expected that the system will be seamless. Sometimes you go to hospital, I've heard stories, you're told the system is not working over the weekend. My friend, diseases do not stop operating over the weekend. You can get sick in the morning, you can get sick over lunch hour, you can get sick at night, on Saturday, on Sunday. So if there is one system that should work for 24/7, it's the healthcare system.
All right.
Otherwise, if we continue like this, it will not be business as usual.
Ruth, what would accountability look like to you where this is concerned?
I think allow me to start with something that Advice said on the headlines. I'd like to disagree with him a little bit. I like that headline. And the reason I like it is because Kenyans, when he went on a rant on his social media page, Kenyans were basically telling him that, look, you might be there right now, and we want you to know that you are dispensable. And that's why Kenyans are responding the way they were responding to him, hence the headline. It reminds me of the former CS Nahumicha. I mean, the arrogance in which she would speak to some journalists and answer and respond to certain issues. I mean, what we saw Kenyans literally celebrating when she was removed. So I think for me, Kenyans are also realizing a pattern by the current crop of cabinet, William Ruto's cabinet. The Kenyans are realizing that they are very arrogant and they feel like they are indispensable. And that is a problem. When a public servant feels like they don't have to be accountable to you, that they are indispensable, then we have a problem. The issue with SHA, funny enough, reminds me of, or rather makes me feel like it was another loophole to just steal. Why I say this is because it makes me reflect on some of the initiatives that the current government has done that have been PR gimmicks. One of them being the ICT hubs that, or was it free internet, free market internet that was being launched by the former CS Eliud Owalo. What happened to that project? So when we have a government that has initiatives and doesn't feel the need to be accountable to people, that is a problem. The difference between SHA and the insurances, the private insurances that we pay for, is the word intentional. the private firms are intentional about ensuring that their business does not go down, that their clients get what they're actually paying for. On the other hand, what we are seeing with SHA is the stakeholders, or as Rigathi Gachagua would call them, shareholders, are getting back whatever money it is they feel they invested during the campaign. As a citizen, that is how I look at it. Because explain to me why you are you are controlling funds or disbursement of funds in a ministry that is very crucial to the welfare of people in a country people in a country such as Kenya, but you are deciding that whenever you are being whenever Kenyans are asking you to be accountable, you go to your website, pull down the list that has made Kenyans ask you questions. Whenever Kenyans want to oversight you, or the media wants to oversight you, you attack the media. And I feel very sorry for the media, because in this particular government, if it is not CS Murkomen that is coming after the government, it is the current, it was the former CS Moses, it was Moses, what am I Kuria. Moses Kuria, sorry, who was coming after the media. And now it is Aden Duale. So for me, when you have a government that is consistently showing that they have a problem with accountability, then we need to pull back and ask ourselves a couple of questions. If the president cannot call his people to order and tell them, look, you are actually employed by the citizens of this country. If they want to oversight you, they have a right to. So I think when we now narrow it down to this issue of SHA, there needs to be a certain, there needs to be a time frame in which we are able to get certain questions. Right now, I would have expected that the parliament has actually called CS Aden Duale and asked him to answer crucial questions on some of these issues.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. Let's hear from the economist in the room. Your thoughts?
Thanks, Olive. Aden Duale is a physical manifestation of a country that puts political loyalty ahead of meritocracy and unskilled labor. Okay, because for the case of Aden Duale, he's just a political loyalist to William Ruto, and that's why he's not even if you look at his background in terms of academics, he's a primary school teacher. He neither have the bandwidth nor the capacity to be a doctor or maybe even an IT expert. Because when you talk about
those are some heavy
but it's true.
Accusations.
It's true. It's not an accusation. It's a primary teacher. For real, his background.
He has served as the majority leader in parliament.
Well, I'm talking about qualification.
As a member of parliament.
I'm talking about the qualification as the cabinet secretary for health. You know, when we're talking about SHA, we're talking about health system and integration of health system and the IT.
We did have a doctor there prior, and it ni kama ilimshinda.
Yeah, tungepea daktari mwingine. But anyway, so for the SHA system, from the onset, it was a fraud. A majority of Kenyans complained about it and they were unsatisfied with it. But you see, with the time, it has proven to be so. We have an hospital called St. Mary's Hospital in Mumias. This hospital has served the major Western region for over since the missionary days. Today, it has been closed because during the integration between the NHIF to SHA, unpaid bills over 800 million was not paid. This made the staff and the hospital operation the operational cost to go down. So generally, you find a very ironic sense that we have ghost hospitals that are constantly being paid cash, while we have real hospitals, real staff, and real caretakers who are not paid for what they do. So in the long run, SHA is a system designed to defraud Kenyans. Because when you look at the technical failure at SHA, you can't tell me, Olives, that as a country, we lack experts who can design a system that is flawless and will be able to work perfectly. We have also another scenario where SHA inhibits a monthly payment. You have to pay the whole year so that you can able to access the medical care. You see, people out here, they cannot afford to have 7,200, which is required for averagely for the whole year. So you see, when you design a system that way to make people to pay a certain minimum amount, which is 7,200 shillings, you cut those people who fall sick and are unable even to meet day-to-day food basis. Because healthcare, like today we're celebrating the Katiba at 15, healthcare is a primary factor in the Constitution. And the Constitution envisions free, affordable healthcare and accessible to everyone. Whereas this is what is stated in the Constitution, the SHA, does not promote that. And when Aden Duale is held to accountable, he turns into tribal and political statements. And that's why it's important as a nation, we should always put meritocracy ahead politicalism. Let the skilled people do the skilled people. Let the qualified people do the work for the qualified people. Let a politician be a politician.
All right. Although, I mean, there's a time when technocrats were appointed, ikasemekana wameshindwa na kazi, ndo sasa wakarudisha wanasiasa. But let's hear from the IT expert in the room. Dennis, you're an IT systems expert. Do you agree with those who are saying this thing was a fraud to begin with?
Actually, Kenya, there is always something that's missing. And I want us also, as citizens, to take responsibilities of some of these things. Let's not forget that Duale, how bad is he really? Let's not forget he's a politician here in Kenya, and we know what works. It's demagogy. If you go there with serious business, you want to deliver things, it won't work. You have to do chest thumping. You have to say fire, see fire. You have to do something that resonates with people. Am I right or not? Actually, if you are serious with like delivering specific things that you want to deliver, it won't work. So we politicians actually don't come from heaven. These people come from us ourselves, and I don't believe also we need a doctor there, because it's about leadership. But I want to talk about something, because it's the first line of fraud in this country all the time is the IT systems. I think the president is taking very seriously the free healthcare thing, very seriously. Even in the previous government where he was with Uhuru, you remember when BBI was going around, he was trying to meet with doctors from Venezuela. It was the beginning of what we are seeing now. But there was a very big ceremony, groundbreaking ceremony, that was launched by Uhuru to launch an IT system that will be used for identification of patients that flopped, and a lot of money was spent then. I know the company that did that, but it's not important because it's the past. Now, let's come to the current system. The current system, actually, Safaricom was involved. When you're saying like Safaricom had proposed to do it.
It was part of the consortium.
It was part of the consortium. But the problem was a payroll, because that company is also linked to Adani, who is linked to many other things in this country, and that group or that person don't have a very positive image. And when we design IT systems in Kenya, we don't start from what we need them from. Actually, an IT system is not something that is super complex. An economist, everyone can think of an IT system, because it's a tool that you are using to accomplish certain objectives or some work that you want to do. So we are not building systems to respond to our problems. We just pick someone we know. We don't put this bidding into a competitive process, and we end up with systems actually that don't work. And it's the case in most other cases in this country. So this is not the first one. It's the approach of how we try to find solutions. And we've given too much attention to IT systems in this country, as if IT systems will fix the problems. It's the people. You know, when you kill someone, it's not the tool that you're using to kill someone that's killing the person. It's the person, it's the intention in you. Even if we ask aliens to create us a perfect system, and we still have the same bad intentions to defraud the nation, we'll continue doing it.
All right. So I know, Advice, you had something to add to that conversation on SHA, but I want us to take a break. And then when we come back, I'll allow you 2 minutes to make your point, and then we'll get into Katiba at 15, the assessment of my panelists this morning on that. See you on the other side.